All right, the only thing scarier than the ghosts and goblins of Halloween or the calorie content of all those little chocolate bars I've been eating is Blake Lively seeking new sanctions. And I wanted to look at what's going on with the astrology for Blake going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs once again. Now, we know we're in Scorpio season. It can be a transformative season for all the good reasons or the bad reasons. It can be the best season of your life where you come out renewed. It's like a rising of the phoenix. You burn everything down to rise up as a new version of self. Or you go the Blake route, which is doubling down on who you are and continue to burn your whole life down in the process in a very different kind of way. Now, if we look at Blake Lively's natal chart, we all know, I think it's one of the, the most well-known things about Blake Lively is she is a Virgo stellium in her first house. Now, this is a hyper focus on herself. I know, surprise, surprise. Her chart's in the middle here. So we have the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the moon. They're all in Virgo, everything except the moon in the first house. We also have Mars here. We have Regulus, the Vulcan, of course. There's a lot of energy going on in her first house. She thinks she walks on water. And I think we all know that from watching this whole lawsuit go down. But on top of that, with the hyperfixation on herself, she takes everything personal. I mean, we could see this, right? With Justin Baldoni allegedly asking her personal trainer how much she weighed because he had back problems. Well, she takes that personal, and apparently now it means that she's fat. She takes any kind of feedback as criticism, attack on her core self. And this isn't about blaming astrology, right? I don't want to see anything in the comments around you're just blaming astrology for how she is or like writing it off because of her astrology. No, we all have shadow patterns, and it's the responsibility for each and every one of us to take responsibility for our shadow patterns. We all have things that don't make us perfect little angels, but it's our responsibility to take responsibility for that, to not allow that to bleed over and destroy people's lives. In fact, what I love about astrology and human design is the same thing what I love about personality tests in psychology. It gives you insight into who you are. It gives you insight into your shadow patterns. Very similar to what Carl Jung said with until you make the unconscious conscious, it rules your life and you call it fate. So when we start to identify these patterns, if someone like Blake Lively is open to hearing it, they may be able to sit and process with, okay, yeah, I'm hyper focused on myself. That's okay. I think I'm the Met Gala princess and I think the world revolves around me. But oh man, I really do take everything personal. And I take everything, even constructive criticism, as a personal attack on my core self. Do I want to continue living like this? Does it serve me? When I take everything personal, how do I treat those around me? Is it ruining relationships around me? And then that person can then decide if they want to change or not. She might not want to change. She might think she, walks on water still and that it's okay because she's entitled to treat people that she doesn't like crap. That is her journey to walk. That is her path to walk. It's not an excuse. It explains behavior. Now, we have Mercury ruled Virgo in her first house again. That's over analyzing image, contracts, fairness. But again, because we have that hyperfixation on self, it's fairness in the lens of what Blake sees fairness as. And she can nitpick details to death, particularly in legal settings. Does that remind anyone of anything? Well, when you have this person that's hyper focused and fixated on themselves, they think they can do no wrong. And any kind of suggestion, criticism from anyone is a core attack on who they are. Everything's hyper personal. How do you think things go as we get deeper and deeper into this lawsuit? She doesn't back down. She doesn't want to end it. She doesn't want to admit she was wrong. She's going to double down. She's going to start nitpicking. And this is what we're seeing with all of these sanctions. She's throwing all these sanctions around because she feels in the right. She feels that it's an attack on her, that she is right in everything that happened. And so, she's going hog wild on the docket. Her moon here as well, second house in Virgo, her emotional security is tied to being seen as perfect or right. Now, she feels she's losing control of the narrative. That's like an existential threat for Blakey Poo. And she's going to, again, double down to try and control the narrative. And we see that. That's something I've spoken about a lot with Blake Lively from a PR perspective, was that she uses the docket to create control of the narrative. So the legal docket in the lawsuit has always been used as a vehicle for her PR. We have also Pluto in her third house in Scorpio. This is an obsessive energy. This can turn into either the potential, Pluto's going to be very transformative, obsessive, where you're able to bring about big change in the world because you fixate on something, you obsess over something until you bring it to life, or this fixation and obsession that destroys you from the inside out. Now, third house Pluto and Scorpio is going to be an obsessive communication style as well. Once she locks into something, into a grievance, into a legal dispute, into feeling as though someone is attacking her, it's either transform with Pluto, transform herself, how she handles a situation, or destroy. And considering everything we see with Blake Lively is in the shadow, she tends to lean towards destroy. And I think her and her husband, whether they're still together or not, I don't know. Whether they stay together, I think Ryan will save himself. I think they've run amok in Hollywood for so long that they really believe that, and they've just created this pattern to go right into destroy. If someone tries to harm them in their own heads, if someone isn't giving into them, it's not looking at self and where they have gone wrong or where they have crossed a line or a boundary. It's destroy at all costs. That third house Pluto as well can indicate someone that's very secretive or suspicious. It's interesting because it can signify some battles with siblings. The interesting thing is she has always given an illusion of very close with her siblings. I find it very odd that her siblings posted happy birthdays to Ryan, but she didn't. I don't know. Maybe there is, especially with this transit with the sun. We're in Scorpio season, the sun in Scorpio transiting her Pluto in the third house. Maybe there is some kind of drama there going on with the siblings. I don't know. Maybe they're going to take Ryan's side. I don't know. I do think Ryan will be happy to throw Blake under the bus to save himself and his brand. But this is also media battles. Power struggles once again over who controls the story. So we have this person that's hyper fixated on themselves in the shadow. Everything feels personal. There can be a obsessive power struggle over narrative control. This tendency to obsess over destroying other people that might have quote unquote harmed her or attacked her, even if it's in her own head. I mean, the reality is this gives you someone that is very volatile and someone you probably don't want to get involved with. And with this placement of Pluto as well, and the secrecy that comes around this, around communication, it wouldn't even surprise me if it was in fact true that she stores all the text messages from her friends to potentially use as blackmail later. Like, that's the secretive kind of energy here. And I've said in the past, even though Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds sent me a subpoena and ruined my summer because I was so stressed over it, and I was getting quoted like $100,000 to fight this in court, completely destroyed my summer. Thanks, Blake and Ryan. If they came and apologized, genuinely apologized, and showed a willingness to be different and do things differently, I would forgive them. Would I ever trust them? No. I wouldn't trust either of them as far as I can throw them. And her astrology tells me why. It's concerning. So it is someone that's very secretive around communication. If you're a friend of Blake, I wouldn't be surprised if she has like a Google Drive folder or a drafts folder in a Gmail, since she was accusing Justin Baldoni of that, with all your shit in it in case she has to pull it out. That Pluto Scorpio energy with a Virgo stellium, oh yeah, she's definitely got one. Her identity is fused with control. And that can be leveraged in a positive way. This isn't setting someone up to be a horrible human. But again, when you allow someone to operate through these shadow patterns for so long, I genuinely believe she believes that she's justified in how she behaves. It's kind of that energy of like, do you know who I am? Which is like, girl, you were in Gossip Girl. That's it. I still don't know the difference between Gossip Girl and Gilmore Girls or the OC. In fact, I thought some people from the OC were on Gossip Girl or whatever it's called. I mean, sure, It was a pretty popular show, but still, that's your claim to fame. Like, chill out. But she'd be that person with this energy. Now, we're looking at this in terms of everything that's going on recently, right? There's different ways you can look at a natal chart. This is specifically to help explain some of the things that are going on in regards to the It Ends With Us lawsuit. Now, we have her Uranus and Neptune retrograde in the fifth house. We also have Saturn here and Persephone. We have Vega, which is a chief star in the constellation of Lyra. Now, this is a very fortunate star with harmony and artistic talent and being someone that tends to be kind. However, the shadow of that is self-indulgence and obsession. So we see this tendency through her chart to be highly obsessed with things. Now, all this energy in the fifth house, what could she be obsessed with? Well, she could use it properly, this energy, for creativity and romance. In the shadow, it's public drama. Saturn in this position in particular fears public humiliation, fears not being in control. And again, that obsession of Vega with Persephone, that darkness can come out, and that crashing of who she thinks she is or how she thinks the situation went with reality can just take down everyone in her path. This is with retrograde energy in her fifth house can manifest as like, I'm the victim of a conspiracy. So in her head, I wouldn't even be surprised if she used the word conspiracy. I don't think she has yet. But this clandestine smear campaign, in her head, she probably genuinely believes that she's a victim of this conspiracy. So it can be a very volatile energy. It can be a very creative energy when funneled properly. And then we look at her north and south node retrograde. We have her north node in Aries. And this can be this karmic pull towards shared resources, psychological depth, especially in the eighth house, spirituality. However, the retrograde in Aries with the other energy of her chart, especially when we break down the aspects with the north node, we have a quincunx with the sun. There is this destiny to achieve everything you dream of. However, like everything in her chart, there's this tendency to push your selfish wishes on others and destroy your own life as well as other people's lives in the process. So there is like this dark shadow type energy to her north node. It's like living in the fantasy land of her own brain and not being in touch with reality, square Neptune. And if she doesn't have that healthy outlet, if she doesn't have people to call her out with it, she's going to essentially, instead of uplifting others, destroy others and herself. It's a really interesting energy. And we have Eris in the ninth house with her. Eris is named after the goddess of strife and discord. She's one of my favorite placements in a natal chart because I like kind of that dark goddess type energy. Now, she describes adversity, scandals, jealousy, revenge, and it can also signify positive energy, such as resourcefulness and desire to work towards self-improvement. Well, we know that Blake's not really working towards self-improvement. When we're looking at this position, there's strong opinions here. Now, those strong opinions and not being afraid to voice them can be used to move the world in a positive direction. We've seen that with other placements in her chart, especially Pluto. However, when it's not used properly, that strong opinion can be used to destroy others, to seek revenge on others. Because again, goddess of strife and discord, the goddess of quarrels, rivalries, revenge, and jealousy. So she can use those strong opinions to take others down. And it can really create a lot of not just personal, but societal conflict for her. So we see this chart where there's a lot of, and you tend to see this for a lot of charts that have a lot of potential. As much light as there is, there's a potential for dark. Every light casts a shadow. So light a candle, you're going to have a shadow behind it. And you tend to see those charts that have the most potential have some of the strongest, hardest shadows to work through. I just don't think she's ever had anyone that's really like told her how it is. And especially with the North Node in Aries, retrograde in the shadow, it's highly impulsive in a crisis. My way or the highway. I've no doubt that she's likely kind of given the direction to her lawyers, to her PR team on how things are supposed to go, how she wants them to go. I feel like her lawyers have no integrity, so maybe it's easy for them to just go with whatever she says to do, my opinion only. But there's not this partnership. There's not this foundation. There's not this working together that there's the potential here. It's just when threatened, all of this energy, particularly with Eris in that placement, retrograde in Aries, like this Aries energy, it's aggression, it's impulsivity. The third house in astrology is the house of communications. That's why I said it doesn't surprise me that she might be secretive in terms of having Google Drive folders and text messages and stuff she could blackmail people with, stored away just for, a rainy day. Day she needs to control the narrative. But also, this is the house of communication. I would say there's something sketchy coming up in regards to her PR, something she wants to hide. Remember that secretive energy of Pluto, and the sun here has potential to illuminate it. It's one of two things. I'd say she's either going to leak something or she's going to pull a PR stunt to get you to look over here when you should be looking over here. So just be aware of what's really going on over here. Is there something that she's trying to hide? That secrecy and using communication, using PR, even communication on the docket to try and cover it up is going to be huge. Now we have also the retrograde transit of Saturn and Neptune in her 8th house. This is one delusional victim type energy. Like she genuinely believes she's the victim of this vast injustice because to her, it's a personal attack on her. So all of us, we're going, where's the SH girl? Where's the SH? But to her, in her head, because it is all, the world revolves around Blake Lively in her head. So while we see no evidence in her head, she's like, well, look at what happened. He asked my weight. Is that not the worst thing you can do to someone? That is a personal attack against me. Like that is a level of delusion we're dealing with. And with the Saturn retrograde here, it's delaying resolution. And that Neptune retrograde is going to blur facts, but also blurring facts in her own head. But again, with that blurring of facts with the sun and Pluto, I do worry that she's got something up her sleeve to blur facts in a PR sense. Now, we also have Uranus retrograde in her 10th house, conjunct with Hades, both in Gemini. There is a, remember we talked about worst thing for her is public humiliation. There's a boomerang about to hit her in the forehead. Every move to control the narrative backfires. And because of this boomerang, there is a potential that something's going to leak about her. It's like, push your luck, girl, push your luck. But that boomerang has been coming back for her, but it's not done. She has got to tread lightly with this energy because Hades, Chronos, especially in the transits, we have Hades, Chronos retrograde here. It's coming for celebrities. It's coming for public figures. It's coming for those that have had like these secrets and manipulative past buried. It's coming to expose it all. She's got to be careful because that boomerang's going to hit her right in her forehead. I think if she believes there was backlash currently, something's coming that's going to give her even more backlash. So we have this Virgo stellium. The last thing I'm going to say is this Virgo stellium activated by the Scorpio sun, the Scorpio season we're all in. She's going to be micromanaging even more. I would even bet, I would say she's probably driving everyone on her team fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. Probably going to get more barfing on the docket. I haven't looked at the docket recently. I'm going through a Blake Lively detox in terms of the docket because it's just so vitriolic. It's so delusional. I mean, you want to talk about delusion with this natal chart and the transits? I can't play in the realm of that level of delusion anymore without losing my own mind. So I have taken a step back from it, but I would say expect just more asinine demands. The one thing I was thinking of her trying to leak, it's interesting because she didn't actually, I'm just trying to sort it out in my head. I feel like something's coming though. She didn't necessarily want that Claire Ayub audio being leaked. That would be falling more into her Pluto secrecy. Like I only want to control what gets out about this. I want it to be secret, to control the narrative with the pieces I want out. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to leak something either through a legal document or just straight out PR and someone hits back because of it. And if we're looking at, well, why now? Why all of these sanctions? Why Peak and Sandy? Yeah, we could argue that, Discovery's closed, but it really is this Sun Pluto energy with her Saturn Neptune, sorry, with the transit Saturn Neptune in her eighth house, conjunct her North Node, and this boomerang that's coming back. And again, for someone that's so obsessed with controlling the narrative, so obsessed with her public image, and everything's about Blakey, it's very possible she's going to react in a way that's going to push someone to the limit to defend themselves. And it's not going to go well for her if it has been going well at all so far, which I don't think it has. All right, my friends. So that's my prediction with Blake. There is something coming with it, something in regards to PR or the docket in terms of leaking something that she feels is beneficial for her. And we're just getting started. I think we're going to see her unraveling at an incredible rate as she continues to lose control of the narrative. All right, my friends, I hope you had a wonderful Halloween, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.